Doctors, in Kenya are very
casual.
They're like, oh, you have cancer, it's in stage 3, you need an operation, you need chemo.
Yeah. Did you ever think at some point that you'd die?
Yes.
Okay, and were you ready for that?
No, the first time, by the way, so I get this tumor and I'm taken to the hospital and we've spent time there diagnosing, finding out, blah, 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 blah. And on the day of the operation, I was wheeled into the surgery room. And so I'm there, they've strapped me, you put like a cross like this, they put, blood pressure machines on one hand, they put, I don't know what else on this hand, things, they're monitoring all manner of things. Machines are just beeping all over the place. And I tell him, I want to pray. Yeah. And they say, okay, you can pray. So I pray, I tell God, I don't know what's going to happen, I'm not ready to die, but if I have to come, please. I started confessing my sins, and then I realized I don't have time for all of them. So I just summarized them, like
yeah.
Dhambi ni mingi. Time ni
muda ndio
hakuna. I'm like, what?
So kagiza kamengia kidogo, but we have to finish Levi's story because it's very interesting and very informative and educative even. So yeah, we're back. This is part 2.
Not dark and gory.
Not dark. So yeah, this is part 2. And remember, if you've not subscribed to our social media platforms, especially YouTube, please do. So, Rehab 2011.
Yeah. Yeah, that was quite an experience.
Yeah.
Like I told you, a friend of mine went to rehab and I watched him change his life. And I wanted that so badly. And for the first time I looked at it and, I realized that at the core of my problems was the alcohol. Okay.
So this friend of yours, were you drinking together? Were you drinking buddies?
We were actually even high school mates.
Oh.
And he didn't really tell us because, like you go to rehab and one of the things they advocate for when they give you the 12 steps is, you have
cut
to...
off.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Triggers, Nini, all the bad company and stuff. So he just dropped off the grid and got his life together. And we became the bad company, and I totally understand it. And it got me thinking. In my life, I had made so many mistakes. And by that time, by the way, I wasn't even in that radio station anymore because by then we were not making money. We had gotten out. I had worked for another TV station. The same thing had replicated itself. I had worked for an NGO and I had been drinking throughout the NGO again. I had gotten into a lot of trouble. So I realized that I had an alcohol problem that seemed to exacerbate my issues. And I thought I should get rid of it. So I went to rehab. Called my mother from there, told her I checked myself into rehab. She was very shocked. It's usually you drag someone to rehab, mostly. Most people are taken there kicking and screaming. But here I had gone there right on my own. And I spent 90 days in one of the most humbling rehabs that ever existed at that moment in time.
So
it had no...
That time, are you working?
No, that time I'm not working. It had no running water, it had no power. We were drawing water from the well. Was that intentional? No, this guy went there, so I went there. But I didn't realize that, initially even the first day, I just wanted to just get out of that place. But I hung on. And 92 days later, I came out. Okay. And that, I think, was my transformational time. It was my Damascus moment. Okay. Because my whole life changed, not immediately after, it's not like it was like a magic pill, but my life began to change from there.
Okay. It's actually very interesting because I have a friend who was telling me they don't know of anyone who's gone to rehab the first time and didn't have a relapse.
It's an 85%, the statistics say that 85% of people who go to rehab don't make it. Okay. Only 15% actually quit. Okay.
We thank God.
It's a bad statistic.
Yeah.
I've got so many friends who I have a friend who's doing rehab for the 9th time. It's so difficult for people to get themselves out of that vice once they get into it, which is why we should be talking more about, prevention rather than helping people to get out. Yeah. But it's, I count myself as one of the blessed ones, really. I really thank God.
Yeah, you really are.
Yeah.
So what is life like now after you quit alcohol?
Everything changed. I met my wife. I got a family. I got a job, an actual job, where I've been working now for 10 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Longest time I've ever done anything anywhere. I mean, I stuck it out. Like, I became an actual journalist, became accredited. You know, I managed to write books. I got cancer and beat it, you know. And
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
and I can say that life for me became stable, steady, where I was meant to be in the first place, but took so many wrong turns to get to.
I like how you talk about getting cancer and beating it as if it's a casual thing.
Yeah, you know these
So it's
books, by the
more-
way, when I was beginning to write a book,
Yeah.
it was during the time I had cancer.
Okay.
And somebody said, oh, you know, you're doing chemo and all that, blah, blah, blah. You need to write a book about the sickness, because I was documenting on Facebook.
Yeah.
At that moment in time, I was writing about my treatment, and I think many people began to actually, you know, my Facebook following really grew about that time. Because I wrote
When was
about
that?
chemo after chemo, 2018. Between 2018 and up to 2019, almost 2020, I was getting treatment.
Okay.
And at that point in time, somebody came and said, you know, Levi, write a book. You know, these things you're writing on Facebook, put them in a book about cancer and blah, blah, blah. And when I began writing, initially I was writing about my cancer journey. And then it hit me, hey, this is just a chapter. There's so many things I have actually gotten into and out of, you know. Some things I have not even mentioned to you, like I had an anxiety disorder at some point, you know. Like I got into trouble on the internet, you know. Like I had issues with the president of Rwanda, you know.
And we will come to that.
We got into a tweet fight, but
Because how dare you, Levi?
I had
How dare you?
issues.
I want to know, where was
Yeah.
your tumor and what stage were you diagnosed at?
Stage 3
Stage 3.
Yeah.
Damn. Where was it? Where was the tumor?
in my stomach. I had an operation to remove it from my colon.
Okay. Were you married at that time?
Yes.
Oh, so your wife and kids watched you
Married
through
and
this journey?
yeah, with 3 kids.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry, but I'm so glad you're well.
Oh, it was a moment,
Yeah.
and I thank God for it, because it also helped me see my family, my wife, in a different light. I think at the tail end of it, I discovered, you know, my true friends, and I also realized that life is precious.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you know, we are going through this thing, going through the motions and not realizing, you know, when you're in the hospital bed and you can't bend to even pick a pencil from the floor, it really hits you of how fickle your life is. Yeah.
Did you ever think at some point that you'd die?
Yes.
Okay. And were you ready for that?
No. You know, the first time, by the way, so I get this tumor and I'm taken to the hospital, and we've spent time there diagnosing, finding out, blah, 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 blah. And then I find out I have a tumor. We need to have, you know, the doctor tells me, doctors, you know, in Kenya are very
Casual.
They're like, oh, you have cancer. It's
No
in stage 3.
offense.
You need an operation. You need chemo.
Yeah.
Go think about it, blah, blah. And, you know, I was being rushed into this story.
Yeah.
So I ended up at Mater Hospital
Okay.
with a very nice doctor who was now going to operate on me. And on the day of the operation, I was wheeled into the surgery room. And so I'm there, they've strapped me, you know, you put like a cross like this, they put, you know, blood pressure machines on one hand, they put, I don't know what else on this hand, things, they're monitoring all manner of things. Machines are just beeping all over the place. And I tell him, you know, I want to pray.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, you can pray. So I pray, I tell God, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not ready to die, but if I have to come, please. I started confessing my sins, and then I realized I don't have time for all of them. So I just summarized them, you know, like dhambi ni mingi, time ni
Muda
chache,
ndio hakuna.
muda ndio hakuna. I'm like, God, let's just summarize. I've done bad things, nisamee tu watu.
Yeah.
Just accept me into heaven. And so the doctor asks me, he says, oh, are you scared? I told him, no, I'm not scared. And then they all burst out laughing. You know why?
Yeah.
Huku kwa machines, blood pressure, juu, sijui nini, wamesoma huko, yani. So you're asking, was I scared? Oh, absolutely, I was scared.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody is walking around actually so sure of themselves that they don't have a kafia of the unknown. I mean, no one has really gone dead and come to tell us exactly what happens. So it's the unknown.
Yeah.
There'll be some fear, absolutely. And for many people, the moment they're told they have cancer, the first thing is death, the fear of death, you know. But then, here's a funny thing, or the thing we don't consider for that matter. We all can die at any point. Every day we wake up is a day to die. You know, the only qualification for death is life. Like,
Oh, the
it
only
could be,
qualification of death is life.
Is life.
Put that on a t-shirt. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, you can be hit by a border,
Yeah.
you can have food poisoning, you
Yeah.
can just collapse and go. And we don't realize it
Yeah.
until we get sick, and suddenly we become more aware. But really, we are temporary with it every day anyway,
That's very true.
you know.
Yeah.
And maybe we should be more cognizant of that.
Wow. So you don't die, clearly. You
Yeah.
come back of that, you come out of that strong. And
I come out of that, and
when were you declared cancer free?
in 2020,
2020.
yeah.
Wow. So this whole time you're not working?
I was working.
Oh.
Actually, my employers kept me. I kept on earning my salary. They're just like, amazing guys, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, after that, I remember somebody offered me a job and I just couldn't take it. You know how you're feeling, hey, not now, not after this, because it's like a punch in the stomach, eh?
Yeah.
To the people who stood by you the most. But really, people really stood by me, and I had a great, you know, band of friends, guys I went to school with, my neighbors, people who really gave towards my cause at that point in time, people who visited me, you know, my family, my wife was around me round the clock.
Yeah.
You know, I was very blessed to have had such a supportive, you know, system around me to enable me to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little birdie told me that you're banned from Rwanda. I'm assuming it's because of that fight. What was that fight about?
Well, I don't know if I'm banned. You know, maybe I should go and
try, test
try,
the waters.
Test the waters.
Yeah.
Kwani, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
This thing was really an accident.
Yeah.
I was on Twitter, and I don't have a huge following on Twitter, by the way. I'm just one of those regular guys with a few people who can see a tweet. And I noticed that the president of Rwanda had put a tweet saying that, thanking his legal team for removing of term limits.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I tweeted. I think he must have just said it, then I tweeted and said, you know, I hope, Mr. President, sir, you will not ruin your legacy by becoming president for life. And I'm thinking that he must have been on his phone at the moment. That's just my imagination.
Yeah.
Because apparently he answered me. And then he said, worry more about your own legacy if you have any to worry about. I didn't see his reply. Because me, when I tweeted, you know, you're not expecting a president to tweet you back.
Yeah.
I mean, people say things to the president all the time and he ignores them. And I switched off my phone, but I was traveling, I was going to Eldoret. So when I got to Eldoret, I'm switching on my phone. It's just pinging, ding, 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 you know, I'd never had that sound before. It's a sound of notifications. And I'm opening up and Twitter is just wild. Because of his reply, his reply is the one that went viral. I mean, people said, oh, he's threatening a Kenyan journalist. Oh, he's, you know, doing what? Somebody said a hashtag, someone tell Kagame, they were trolling him the entire time. Kenyans were also there.
No, you didn't.
Carrying their suitcases there. And, yeah. And then people were calling me, you know, local news people, international news people. Do you have a comment?
Did you have a comment?
No.
Do you have a comment now? No, come on.
I was called by some guys and told, man, don't mess, you guy. You know, you can be off. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Nini. I was so afraid. I used to walk in town with my brother as a bouncer. Because I thought, you know, there were some people who gave me tales of people who dropped, who did what there and dropped, who did. Hey, I was like, hey, okay.
Yeah.
You mean? So there are rumors that I'm persona non grata in that country, but I, you know.
There's only one way to find out.
If the president of Rwanda is listening, please, you invite me, we just bury this story. It was just off the cuff.
So no comment now?
No. Invite me to Rwanda. That's the comment.
Okay, President Kagame. Right. So you beat cancer. And then you're back to work, you're back to your to life, to your kawaida life. When do you publish this book?
It took time.
Okay.
It took 3 years for me to write the first book. And about a year to finish the second one. But that first book was a struggle because some of the things I say there are not exactly everyday things that people say about themselves and speak so candidly. And I wanted an authentic book. I read a book by a friend of mine who told a story about something that happened to him, but he didn't tell the entire story.
Yeah.
And I thought, if you're going to write a book and you're going to tell about something that happened in your life, either say it all or don't say it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people know, you know, your story, not quite that way. So I figured I would write a book that was as raw as possible for the purpose of assisting other people to realize that, you know, things happen in our lives. Some things we can control, some things we can't control, some things of our own making and some that are not. But, you know, at the end of it, there is no experience that is useless.
Yeah.
All these experiences are there to help us either become better people, to learn something from them, you know, or to build on them to greater platforms.
Yeah.
So really that's the entire there is no useless experience theory, is that's just the whole entire thing about it. You know, I've only chosen that there are some stories, of course people think, oh, everything about you may have been a failure, blah, blah, blah. Of course not. I've had many triumphs in my life. There are many things I've also done that gotten right. But what teaches us more? Failure or triumph?
Yeah, failure.
It's failure.
Failures,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's put it out there. Normalize telling people, you know, the things that have not made us look so nice, so that not only can we make them feel normal about it, but we can also help them to know that, you know, you can overcome some things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before you tell us where you can find the books, maybe you can tell me, you mentioned your dad quite a bit. Has he read the books?
I don't know.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to preempt a story about my father in the second book because, you know, that whole relationship meshed up and ended up becoming a relationship that was not great, even up to this point. And it's a major regret, especially for me as a son, because everybody would like to have a good relationship with their parent. Yeah? And it takes two to make a relationship work. And sometimes we feel like there's some things we should have not said, you know, or some things maybe we should have done. In hindsight, perhaps I should have been a better son to him, and I didn't really know how. And he was also being a father to a son for the first time because I was his eldest. But I think that in telling our story, I feel that one day it'll have a happy ending, hopefully. But I also tell it because I know that there are many men out there, because many times I am also talking at men's forums about men who are struggling with their fathers and the perception of living up to their dads.
Yeah.
And you know, it carries and, you know, harms on us the entire life. So it's something that we need to talk about. Hopefully I'll have a better story to tell about it one day.
I don't know, if you met him today, maybe what would you tell him? What do you think you'd tell him?
Well, you know, we have a lot of, what's it called? Maybe I would just say, I wish I could take it all back.
Okay.
I wish we could reset to the time when we were like 10.
Yeah.
I was like 10. You know, there's a point your father was your hero.
Yeah.
And maybe we build from there.
Yeah.
But I also believe that nothing is impossible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you do get to talk.
Yeah.
So maybe looking at that camera, you can tell people where they can get your books.
Yeah. You can get my books on Nuria, by the way. Nuria bookstore. They have both my books, 1 and 2. Or you can find me, especially on Facebook. Find me on Facebook, Levi Kones. Send me an inbox and I can bring them to you myself. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Levi, for sharing your story. Thank you so much. I can't wait to read the
Thank you.
books.
I feel like you have dragged a lot of things out of me.
Have I though?
Yeah.
That is what you've been doing to people for 10
feeling
years.
drained. It's just like, hey, hizo ni vitu gani sasa? This is terrible stuff.
But I'm so glad you agreed to do this. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad you're teaching people using your stories.
Yeah.
And that you brought us books. I think writers are not as many, especially in this country.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Neither are
It's
readers.
wild.
Somebody said you can't get rich by writing,
Yeah.
but you can change the world.
Yeah. You can't get. Oh, you have so many Twitter-able quotes. Love it. So yeah, I think we're gonna close it at that. Thank you so much, Levi, for sharing your stories and for putting yourself out there in the world, because I believe it's not everyone who listens to your stories or reads about them and reacts to them in good faith, which is allowed. But thank you so much, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thank you.
And for giving me an easy time. I was really anxious about this interview.
Really?
Yeah, given that you're a journalist.
Yeah,
You don't interview someone who's used to doing the interview, to be on the other side of the table.
I was imagining it must be a little bit easier. But really, thank you for your time, and I appreciate.
Yeah.
My first time ever in TV 47. I will always remember this day. Thank you.
Oh, I hope we can keep being friends.
Yeah, we will.
So thank you so much for watching Unfiltered with Gashambi. Remember, if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel or followed us on our social media handles that are here on the screen. Kindly do so. Until next time, bye.